I have to tell you about one of the most popular and easy to use editing software that's out there for content creation. It's called Wondershare Filmora 10, and it's great for beginners and perfect for experienced editors. Let me show you some of my favorite features of Filmora 10. Check out their cool motion tracking with just a few clicks, and voila! You will find a ton of royalty-free music and preset templates with text, filters, transitions, overlays, animated stickers, and you can avoid copyright claims by using these. It's that simple. Do you want to make content? Do you want an easy-to-use editor? Do you want to be able to find resources like templates and animations? Then Filmora 10 is the perfect solution. Other features include keyframing, color match, keyboard shortcut customization, Mac touch bar support, and dark and light skin. I even love the audio ducking feature. You can try it for free right now with the free trial, which has a watermark. The link is below this video. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to a very special episode of 4GQ TV. Today we have a very special guest, and I'll let him introduce himself in just 1 second. Real quick, I'm going to introduce the panel that you have seen before. We have Paris from the Marvel Cinematic Facebook group. He's waving. And then we have Mav from Xbox Ultimate Podcast and 4GQ TV, and he is now waving. And Desmond is giving them the signal. And then we go to our very special guest. I'm very honored to speak to you today, and the panel will speak to you. Desmond, how are you doing today?
I'm well, guys. I'm very honored to be here as well. So thank you so much for having us on.
Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name's Desmond Chiam. I most recently have appeared in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier as Dovich, one of Carly's merry band of flag smashers. I'm an actor, obviously, and that's most recently what I've done.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah,
Well,
Des, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that the in Paris' Facebook group, the Marvel Cinematic Facebook universe, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier has been all the rage. I've been seeing posts left and right in there, so very excited. Go ahead, Paris.
Yeah. And the group, everybody loves it. You know, we have about 500,000 members of it, so
Hell yeah.
it's pretty cool. I did a little post, little celebratory post that we were interviewing you on there, so people are pretty stoked. So they're gonna want to see it. One thing I wanted to ask you is, you know, you migrated from Australia, is that correct? To the US. Where about in Australia, and were you born there, or did you migrate to Australia and then migrate to the US? So how does that all play out for you?
I have a bit of a weird one for any sort of traveling kid, you know, who bounced around a lot when they were younger. It's pretty standard story. But I was born in Australia, Melbourne, Australia, which is I love it. I miss it so much. It's such a great city to live in. If you haven't gone, go check out Melbourne. They have a great convention as well. But my dad worked in Singapore and never really kind of stopped. So we were back and forth a lot between Singapore and Australia. We were sort of like 2 months to 4 months in Singapore, and then 10 months to 8 months in Australia every year until I was about 18. So definitely did that, back and forth. And then I came to the States on an exchange program for the first time in 2008 when I was in uni, or college, as you guys say. And that was sort of my moment of like, I kind of like it here. Maybe, what if I tried to move here? And that sort of just snowballed into, now I've been here for 8-9 years.
Wow.
Awesome.
What do you enjoy most? Do you think you enjoy Australia more now, or now that you've been here long enough, or are you fully Americanized to be the hey, I love this country. It's amazing. It's better than everything else.
There's pluses and minuses, right, to everything. Like Australia, things I miss. I miss meat pies. I miss coffee. I miss lamingtons. These are all weirdly we're very much coffee snobs in Melbourne. The food as well in Australia is just top notch for such a reasonable price. But like there's an availability of stuff in the US that you can just get stuff here, like especially in the nerd sphere. Australia, you know, if I wanted to pick up like a sideshow statue or something a little more obscure, it very rarely makes it to the Antipodes. Whereas here, you know, it's kind of a collector's paradise, and there's so many like little lost treasures here and there. And I'm also kind of obsessed with Americana as a general thing, so it's just nice to be in the land that is Americana, right? And then like especially when I first moved here as well, there was just levels of convenience. I think like you guys had Amazon Prime. We didn't have Amazon Prime. We had to wait a week for our deliveries. But honestly, it's like little stuff like that does make a difference. Things I hate about LA is the traffic. I mean, that's the canned answer.
Yeah.
But it's so true. Like you can't do more than two or three things in the day in LA unless you plan it like laser precise. You know, in other cities in the world, you can be like, oh, I'll just wander here and I'll meet up with a friend. I'll wander here and meet up with a friend. And it's like you can do 12 things, but in LA, it's like, nope, pick 2. That's all you got.
Especially if you had to drive, right? So.
Yeah.
And I think everything you need to do there, you got to drive. So
yeah, pretty much exactly. There's no walkability.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you about Australia, because I always found Australia mystifying, right? Like I always loved the idea of visiting Australia. There's so many cool things there, and I am fascinated with kangaroos. Did you actually get to see a lot of kangaroos running around? Like, does that really happen?
It's not like they're wandering around the city streets, but if you go far enough out, like if you go 45, 55 minutes from the city centre, like in Donvale, it's a suburb out east in Australia, in Melbourne. Like, yeah, you might see one like bouncing on the side of the road or something, or like a little flock, or if you go to one of the far out golf courses, sometimes a lot of them love setting up shop there, so they'll have gangs of kangaroos like wandering around. There's a place. I shot a show in Brisbane for about 8 months, and there was a location that we went to that was only 30 minutes from the center of Gold Coast, which was just known for swarms of kangaroos. Like you'd go there and there'd just be like hundreds of them everywhere. So if you're obsessed with kangaroos, I'll find out what that spot is called. I'll go back to my call sheets and try to find the location. But if you're obsessed with kangaroos, go there. Do not approach them because they will ruin your shit. I don't know. Can I swear?
Yes.
You've all seen the I'm sure you've seen the meme of the buff kangaroo.
Yeah.
That dude's average sized. That dude's average sized for a kangaroo. If you meet the alpha male on the wrong day, he will shatter every rib that you own.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Wow.
I've seen videos of them fighting, right? And they're just like going at it, It's like, whoa, big old feet.
There's this really famous case in Australia where like this dude on a golf course took his ball landed near a group of kangaroos, so he took his like driving iron and like tried to chase them off with it, and the male just reared up and kicked him in the chest, and every frontal facing bone in his body, including his hips, were just shattered.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah. So they are
don't mess with those things.
Kangaroos are super soldiers. Don't mess with kangaroos.
Yeah. Like the gorilla of rats.
Oh my god. That's so perfect. Right. Yeah, the gorilla of rats.
Pretty much.
Yeah, they're really big. Yeah.
They're cute though. Joey's cute.
Yeah, they're cute until you try to take a picture up close of one, right? That's probably another thing you shouldn't do. Go up to them.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Well, from a distance, you get the camera, you got the baby in the pouch. You can get some nice photos, but don't get too personal, right? It's out of their space.
Yep.
No, one other question about Australia. Are crocodiles and alligators rampant as well?
No. Not where I am anyway. Down Melbourne, Sydney, all the way up to pretty much Brisbane. You're not going to have any trouble. If you get any further north than that, up towards the Gold Coast, kind of Cairns area, and if you happen to hang out in swamps a lot, you're probably going to come across one. If you're hanging out by the estuaries near the ocean, I think there's only been like there's only ever been one case of like a saltwater, like someone's only seen a croc in saltwater like once ever. So you know, if you're on the beaches and stuff, you're okay. But if you're a little further inland, and in the soggy parts, the soggy, humid parts of the country, then yeah, watch your step.
No swimming in the swamps, right?
No, no. There's lots of other things there's probably other things you'd worry more about than crocodiles.
Oh wow!
So we apologize about these questions though, because all we know of Australia here in the States is what we see on like National Geographic, when 101 of the world's deadliest creatures are in Australia, you know, and that's like all we know. And we see like these nature explorers, you know, we don't see Australia.
Hey,
you know?
there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
There's
all the snakes and the spiders and
yeah. There's a song on YouTube that you should go look up called "Welcome to Australia." You might accidentally get killed.
Nice.
I gotta check that out.
The stereotype, but it's fantastic.
Yeah. Other than that, the weather and the beaches are awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the beaches are where you. The beaches are awesome.
Yeah. And then the sharks, but you know,
jellyfish and the stonefish and all that. Don't worry about them. They're fine.
Don't worry about that. Right. Nice. So, go ahead.
Oh, I guess I was just gonna start off with the one of the first questions about. I want to. Well, how do I ask this question? Because it's like a two-part question, right? First off, how did you get involved into acting? Like, what was your break? Like, what was your connection in? And then the second question is, when you got contacted to be in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, what was your reaction like? Because Marvel is like a huge franchise, and it's just a fantastic franchise of creativity.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, and we're all fans here, right, of Marvel, so we sort of know what that means, I guess, to us. But I guess I'll start with the big question first in terms of how I got into acting, which is late and then very, very rapidly. I'll explain. So I was not meant to be an actor, according to my family. That was never in the cards. I truly, and I'm not exaggerating, like I lived my first 18 years of my life not understanding and not knowing that a creative career was a thing that you could have, like you could be paid to do this stuff. I thought it was, again, I'm being so literal here. I thought it was just hobbyists who also had other well-paying jobs. That was what I thought the existence of an artist was. An Aussie movie, but it was sort of like a Hollywood production as well, that they cross-produced. So it was sort of one of the first kind of like, Hollywood's come to Australia, okay. And then from that, it was like, all right, I could do this. Could do this full time. How's my connection, by the way? Because I've just tethered to a hotspot now, and I'm wondering.
Yeah, you're good.
You're good.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Well,
and we can clean all this part up. So.
Sweet. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much the journey in, and then from there it was just a matter of working at it, you know, working with these guys, doing some classes, learning the basics, learning the ropes, and I knew that I had a lot of ground to cover, like I was coming from behind. So I pretty much threw myself into it, and you know, that's the history of it. And then as far as getting Falcon and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that was a super surreal moment, like, because I don't tend to tell anyone at the first round of auditions, or even until I go to producers, which is like another step above. I don't tend to tell anyone that I've gone out for something. So I hadn't even told my wife, and we were just at the gym when my manager called, and she was like, "They really, really want you. You need to read with the producers, but they're also just going to come up with an offer like straight away. I'm on with casting right now. Let me call you right back." That was the extent of the call. So I put the phone down, and I was at the gym, and I was just like, what? I was just like freaking out, like I had to sit down, and I was just like, oh, what? And my wife was like, "What happened? Are you okay?" And I was like, "Marvel called?" And I hadn't told her anything. So she was like, "What? no, what are you talking about? You're delirious. What do you mean Marvel call? You just have them on speed dial. They just contact you every now and again. And I was like, no, I went out for this thing last week, and then they're saying that I want to. And so she started freaking out as well. And we're both freaking out. And I'm like almost on the floor at this point. And then these 3 gym dudes spot us freaking out. They walk over and they're super nice. They're like, "Are you okay? Do you need air? Do you need help? Do you need us to like get you up and get you outside so you can breathe? Sit up, don't lie on the floor." And I was like, no, I'm good. It's nothing to do with the workout. Nothing to do with the workout. I'm just Marvel called. You know what? Don't worry. You guys go do your bench presses and focus on your gains. I'm good, but thank you. It was actually like a really sweet thing that these dudes did. So that's the literal story of what happened when I got the call, at the very least.
Awesome. So you're like having a panic attack a little bit, like
yeah,
getting the cold sweats and stuff.
Yep.
I know. I would have freaked out. I'd have been like,
What do you do? Especially because I wasn't expecting it, because it was only after the first couple of rounds that I was like, oh, surely they're going to do like producers and then tests and all that stuff, because it's such a big tentpole franchise. But it was just sort of like one and done.
I read or heard an interview actually where you were talking about you were actually already a Marvel fan, right?
Yeah.
And and the Captain America specifically. So that must have even been a bigger. Is that what drew you in to even approach this audition for this role, or how did the audition opportunity come about?
Well, that one came about as it usually does. Agents were like, "Hey, here's this thing. It's codenamed. It's Disney. We're pretty sure it's Marvel." And then sort of when I read the sides and the descriptions, it was very real world stuff, and sort of knowing that the various corners of the Marvel universe. You've got the arcane stuff with Doctor Strange. You have the cosmic scale stuff with Guardians and all that. This felt very real and human, and I was like, there's only one corner of the universe this could be. It's either Iron Man or Cap, and Iron Man's not in the equation anymore. So we sort of figured, we had a bit of a powwow, me and the reps, and we sort of, they got some intel from their side too, and we were like, we're pretty sure this is their new this is going to be the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, their follow-up to their movies. And I was like, okay, that means a lot more now, because as you did say, I have a very personal I don't have a personal connection to Cap, but reading his comics and more actually watching this, like, I think it was Jack Kirby. Someone told me it was a Jack Kirby cartoon, 1966. I watched one of those on tape on repeat a lot when I was younger, and Cap had become this sort of North Star to me off of that. At various points in my life, meant different things to me, but always helped. And because when we found out it was in that corner of the universe, having that background just made it mean so much more, and sort of really, really pushed me on over the edge in taking the role, because there were some questions as far as, they don't release scripts until you sign on, and we didn't know what the size of the role was. We didn't know how. All they told you was how many episodes we were going to be in. So they were like, you're in all 6, but they were very tight-lipped on everything else. So we were like, we don't know how important this character is. And at the end of the day, there wasn't a question though, because it was in Cap's universe. And the other thing they told us was that, okay, you're going to be beefed up. You're going to be on the super soldier serum. So I 100% at that point was like, oh, I'm going to have the thing that Cap had. Sign me up. Like, that was the moment. Like, no, I have to do this. Like, this is dumb. Like, yeah, sure, let's burn the Marvel ticket. Let's go. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And during the I guess we can start talking about the show a little bit, and specifically your character. It was an interesting moment when I watched all 6 episodes, weekly, just like the rest of the world, tuned in at nighttime or whenever I get an opportunity to watch it. There were some things I noticed about your character where he was, he was following Carly, to the end, which he did, but there were certain things in there where she started going a little bit too far, and I could pick up on your character's reaction to that. Like, he really wasn't sure about doing some of the things she wanted him to do, but he was like, I'll do it because what is it? One world. what,
One
what's the
world, one
slogan
people.
called? What's
Yeah.
what's the slogan again? Yeah, one world, one people.
Yeah.
One world, one people. He was going to bat for that, but you could tell that, I'm not really cool with killing people or innocent people to deliver this. But we're a little bit too far down the road now because of that. But yeah.
You pretty much hit the nail on the head as far as the psychology of it goes. That was sort of something I discussed with the actress who plays Carly, who's she's such a force, by the way. Erin is the loveliest, most competent person. She's so good and she's so nice, and that rarely comes together in this industry. Love her. Oh my God. So it's so easy to work with her. So we'd had discussions where we were talking about relationships and stuff and little runs of the scenes back and forth. And I sort of settled on a thing for me where, and this was important, like not a huge role, the material was thin on the ground, but it was super important, I think, to underpin what we had at the Flag Smashers with this multiplicity of approaches. We're not one unit. We don't, yeah, sure, one world, one people. But how does that look in execution, actually? Like, Dovich, for me, comes from a violent background, right? He's mob security in Madripoor. And for me, at the point that you find him in the story, he's left that behind. When he says that line about working for mob security in Madripoor, there's a heavy regret there. He's probably done some things he didn't want to do, and he's never wants to do it again. And he's talking to her about being a teacher, and he truly believes that that is going to happen. And he dreams that that is his North Star, that they are going to bring out this peaceful world, resources for everyone. And she is going to be a teacher, and he's going to be sitting in her class. He'll be the first student to sign up. That's his picture of happiness. And to see that fall apart like that is hard for him. And it's in the little things even, right? Like when we were in the ADR booth doing any of the fights post that episode 3 scene where it starts to fall apart for him, there's no longer that, like when you first see him right in the bank, he's like, oh, he's cocky. And like he comes down with the bag, he does a little jacket pull, he's got the bags, he's like, go on, we're doing this, we're doing it on the right side of things. But then from 3 onwards, even when doing the little sound bites of the fights and everything, I tried to make sure that it sounded like the fight was out of him already. Like he's not invested in this goal anymore, but he has nowhere else to turn. There's a desperation there. His voice is cracking when he's fighting. He's like, it's not as solid as it was. So it's even in those little things where I hoped that would come out. And they did honor it. They put a few of those little things in there. And I think you can tell that Dovich at the end is just fighting to fight, but he's got no direction anymore.
Yeah. Dovich to me was just like a very crucial character for the Flag Smashers and everything, because if you take him out of the equation, then it becomes more of like there's Carly and her crew, and Dovich plays that moral compass where he's like, you can tell he's conflicted, and it brings more of the impact of what they're trying to do is a noble thing, because these are good people, right? These are good people, and you can tell that it's a very tight-knit group. And the other thing I had picked up on, I was talking about this with Paris on Twitter DMs earlier, is that he seems very loyal to Carly, to where at the point when he is conflicted in some of those moments, I didn't know personally if it was coming more about a concern of what their actions are going to be, or more of a concern about her because of her changing, right? So that's kind of how I took some of that with them being so close.
I'm glad you picked that up, because that you hit the nail on the head. It's Carly. You have to make these things personal as an actor. It can't be about a vague. It can be about a sort of vague thesis, but really for him, it's about Carly, in that, the Mama Donya character, and how she meant so much to Carly. Carly is Dovich's Mama Donya, and represented the future that Mama Donya represented for the group, which was a maybe more peaceful, more morally and ethically correct way to go about the business of helping people in need.
Right.
And he cannot separate that loyalty from her actions. And when you're obsessed with the idea to that degree, you always hope that there can possibly be redemption for that person. So he's there to maybe stop her from getting in over her head. And at some point, maybe have that, it's almost like an abusive relationship. It's like, at some point, maybe we can have the chat like, hey, let's stop blowing up people, you know?
Right.
Let's run to the countryside and just live a quiet life for a while. You know, the group, all of us can go, Nico, you know, we can get back to that ideal. But I think as the episodes go on further and further, he loses hope in that more and more. But all he has left is he's dedicated his life to Carly Morgenthau.
Yeah,
that's all he's got. So
I guess it seems like once he crossed that barrier, that line there, it's like there's nowhere else to go. And if you do get captured, you know, they're gonna use you as an example, right? So let's continue on with the mission, even though it is very suspect, but you know, you do have a point. So it was really good to pick up on that, you know. That's why I love that series there. You know, you all did a wonderful job to bring those characters to life, and you know, us as fans really appreciated it, and appreciate the way that you were able to do that.
Testament to the whole cast and whole crew, actually. Like all the Flag Smashers, Reness, India, Danny, you know, Tyler, Ness, Aaron, of course, Noah. I think that was everyone. They all made it. We all felt like family. Like first day we met on set, we gelled like that, and that just made it harder because at certain points in the story we had to say goodbye to people. Like people wrapped and they left set, and it was like, oh, Ness isn't here anymore. This feels so weird. Like
yeah, it seems like you guys all had a good relationship. Also, I've seen some of the pictures, the group photos that you all took together, as you know, as the Flag Smashers, all making the funny faces, and you know, it's you know, when you see that type of stuff, as you know, just as fans or as people, just seeing other people happy, it's awesome to see. So that really resonated with me, and then a lot of the people in our group too. So it's awesome.
I'm glad. Yeah, they're the loveliest people I've ever met. Like beyond just working with them, just good friends now.
So one other question I have about, because when you take on a role like this, right? This is a lot of acting jobs. It's like an isolated event. You know, you're on a show and it's just going to live in this world, or you do a movie and it's just going to live in this world. But with the MCU, it's this big, huge universe, right? And you are becoming a part of it when you take on something like this. So your actions, the way you portray this character, has implications potentially for other movies in the future and other things that are going to live on for who knows how long. Does that like change your thought process on how you want to portray a character, or can you not think about that, you know?
It's a weird quantum state of kind of both. And they both are pretty contradictory states. For me, I tend to go to the smaller stuff more, you know, the personal, like what's on the script, our actual relationships and all that. But there is definitely that thread, and you know, Marvel had their person on set kind of guiding the meta narrative, so to speak. But we also had our own. Like I'm pretty deep into the MCU, but Reness, the big guy, he is deep into everything, man. Like the comics, the lore, and he knew all the little Easter eggs and stuff that was being winked at. And he sort of he gave us this sort of ammunition to be like, oh, there is a little wink in this scene, like do the wink. And I don't know how much of that stuff made the cut, but it was really useful to know, because we sort of could see the you see the Doctor Strange possibilities, right?
The bigger picture.
Right. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, we can do this and maybe help Marvel out a little bit in seeding the universe for that side of things, or that side of things. So it is honestly a bit of both. Yeah.
Awesome.
What was, you know, I'm always curious about this, and it's one of the frequent questions I do ask to multiple actors. But when you get on set, is it a set that one that you were kind of like stationed at for a while? Like, do you guys get your own like little trailers, and you're stationed there and you get to hang out, like, you know, or is it one that you have to show up every day? And is it like was most of your scenes done in like a studio set, like a stage house, or was it actually, out in the open? And what was that whole experience like? Like just walking wherever you were walking, whether it was a stage set or whether it was like real life scenery set, like what was all that like?
It was wild, dude. Like just the sheer scale of the production, the amount of money that they were bringing to it, was just jaw dropping. Like I've never walked onto a set. I don't tend to walk onto sets and feel intimidated by the surroundings. This one, when you walk on and you're surrounded by like attack choppers and like giant green screen walls, and there's like 300 people all working on this one thing, it's a bit like, okay, don't screw this up. Don't be the guy that messes this up
Right.
for everyone. But it's cool. It's really cool to see. Like the 12-year-old boy in me was just freaking out. And then you see Cap's shield over in the corner, and then they've got like, replicas of Falcon's wings and stuff over there. And the stunt guys are thrown down in the corner, like warming up. And it's just like, this is incredible. This is so cool. So that's like, that's the top level layer of it, I guess. In terms of the logistics of the day and how we did it, like most of it was shot location. Our director Kari was pretty insistent that we go location for a lot of things to make it feel real, make it feel lived in. I think that's really important, particularly for Cap's corner of the universe, because it is Earth. It is that sort of it deals with the terrestrial matters, the universe and the more personal stuff. So we would turn up to different places every day, and we'd have the same trailers. They'd move base camp around. We'd all have the same trailers, generally the same configuration, so we knew where everyone was. If I wanted to mess with Tyler, I'd just bang on my wall, like, well, I don't know if this video has hit the net yet, but we'd just sometimes just pop over to Erin's trailer and just stare through her window and creep her out. Like,
She's like, what are you doing?
yeah, basically she's like, oh my god, guys, can you stop? Yeah, it was so fun. Honestly, it was like a little summer camp, especially once we all figured out that we got along really, really well. Even the main guys like Sebastian and Anthony Mackie were chill. Like Anthony Mackie's just a charming dude, man. He is smooth. He can talk to you. You can talk forever and I'll just listen. But Emily and like Daniel Brawl is such a champ. Like he came at karaoke with us one time and just we got a version of the Zemo dance, I think, before the Zemo dance hit. Yeah, it was just nice. It was a friendly, welcoming set. And that is so fundamental into how your base camp is going to feel. Because I've been on a couple of sets that are less approachable. And then it's sort of like, well, you sit in your box until they call you, because if you go outside and catch the wrong person's eye, you're in for an earful. It wasn't like that on this set at all. It was fantastic. Yeah, and there's the flip side of it where sometimes you can be having a little too much fun and you forget that there's a job to do. Again, on this set, I think everyone was just brought their A game. They were aware of how much was riding on this. They'd done the work, even though, a lot of us had very small scenes. We'd done the work. We knew what we were doing. We made sure we came in and did what we wanted to do, and just provided a bit of shading, I think, to the outline that was on the page. So yeah, it was a great experience. Great. It just not even being on Marvel, just in terms of like a set that you would want to be on. It was fantastic.
Yeah, got to meet a lot of people.
Sometimes you get other things,
Yeah, you got to meet a lot of different people. Now you got this community that will live on for a lifetime. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Even being out in Prague and meeting people in Europe, and like all the extras there had their stories to tell of previous productions that came through. And it was cool just listening to them and seeing how excited they were to be like part of this. And they didn't necessarily, I think some of them didn't necessarily know what it was. Like they didn't know what they were there for. Only when they saw the shield carry out, they were like, this is Marvel, just on the day. But they hadn't been told otherwise. And it was cool to just see people's reactions to the universe that we were building.
Nice. Yeah, I seen the picture of you with the shield. How'd you get that? How'd you get the prop master to?
I was so nervous asking for it because I was like, because it's like a hallowed, in my head as well. It's like a hallowed object. It's like it's a relic. Right. In my head, I built it up to be. It's like gold tier loot. I can't touch that. Like, but I close to the end of the shoot, I had a chat with the one of our producers, and I was like, "Hey, is it?" I was so apologetic too. She was like, I think she was worried when I approached her because I was like, "Hey, sorry, I know this is a huge thing to ask, and I'm really, really sorry to do this, and I know you're super busy, and I don't want to take too much of your time, and I know everyone's moving really, really fast, so maybe this can't happen." And she was like, "What? Just say it, man." And I was like, I'm just wondering if I could get a shield and take a picture with it, would that be okay?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's 100% okay. That's really awesome that you want to. That's great. Like, we love fans. Go right ahead." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I guess I built it up a little bit in my head. So I went. She was like, "Yeah, go find a prop master." And I went over, found him, and he was like, "Yeah, let me grab it."
Yeah,
Pulled it over, and he helped me snap a bunch of pictures of it. Yeah,
super
man.
cool. Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's when you grab it and you run off set and you just like steal it, right?
I thought about it for a second. If we weren't on the 4th story, I might have.
Right.
Nice. Well, you can just jump out the window and use it to catch you to stop yourself,
That's
right?
right. It's like with the soldier, just
Yeah. There you go.
you done that scene.
Yeah, you got the serum already, now you got the shield.
They have a way of making you believe that you're superpowered on these shows as well, because all the props are set up for practical effects half the time, and you're like bending steel pipes and like lifting trucks on hydraulics, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I am really strong. Yeah, I could survive a fall."
punching through walls and bricks.
Exactly.
Yeah, did you go home with a false sense of security and you just try and lift things up and it's like, oh, this is actually heavy?
Yeah. My wife had to bring me back to reality. She was like, "Your ego is just off the. This is. I cannot lift this."
Like, I got the serum. You're in the gym trying to do 450 on the bench.
Exactly. No, I did this last week. I promise I could do it.
I could do it.
Nice.
Another thing I wanted to ask you, were you guys allowed to, when a coworker or co-actor was on the set doing their lines or their scenes, were you guys allowed to watch them and like see them act out?
Oh yeah. It was a really open set. There wasn't any preciousness about it. Like they were happy to have us stand near Video Village, as long as we weren't in the way. Like, just be aware of your surrounds. Don't block the workflow. But they were happy. We had free reign if we were on for the day. Even if we weren't, like, there were some days where it was just Erin on, and we'd come onto set because we missed Erin, and we were like just watching her do her thing with with Anthony or something from the corner, just like cheers with like, good job, crushed it. Yeah. So yeah, they were really open about that. They didn't have any problems. Like, if we were like, "Oh, we want to go to set today," and they were like, "You're not on." We were like, "Yeah, but we just want to go see," and they would get a car for us, and we'd roll right over.
Oh, that's cool. That is awesome.
Yeah, it was so, and we got to see a lot of stuff that we wouldn't have seen otherwise, and it was really, really cool. The fight scenes as well, man. Like, the stunt team, they're just off. Dave McCumber and his team are just off the charts, man. They are so good.
What was it like after all of that? Like, you had this amazing experience, right? You went and had this memorable experience filming all this stuff, and you're gonna remember it. But then actually, you get to see it come together actually on Disney Plus and to see the show. And what was that? What was that like for you?
That's the scariest part, because I don't watch stuff that I'm in. I'm one of those actors that is like, I don't watch anything that I do. I don't know why it's just a habit I've gotten into. Like, but this one, I'll be honest, I've actually only watched up to episode 4 at this point. I haven't finished it because it's hard for me. It's hard for me to watch something that I'm in. Yeah. I'm very critical. I'm hypercritical, and not just of me, like of everything. It's a really bad habit. But this one's been great. Like, it does have that Captain America and the Winter Soldier kind of feel to it. As close to like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy as the Marvel Universe ever gets. Although with Black Widow coming out, we'll see if that one takes the prize for that. But yeah, it's really, it's cool. It's cool to see something come together so competently. And I think the hallmark of watching this one has been an increasing confidence in watching the material. Like I'm less reluctant to do like pulling the trigger on the first episode was the hardest thing. Like my wife and my friend can tell you about it. I was sitting there like, should we? Oh no. And then we'd like pause and like play and pause and play and pause and play and pause and play. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, the again, just the level of production and how well they do these things, you kind of forget you're in it and you just go along with the ride, and it's cool.
Yeah, I'm sure family and friends were hitting you up. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome! Your phone's blowing up.
Yeah. My dad
taking
sent me like a
screenshots
thumbs
of your
up emoji, which is like peak expression for him. It was fantastic.
Taking screenshots of the TV of you in it and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I saw most of my stuff anyway on like Instagram as people were tagging me, and I was like putting it up on my stories as well. Just
right.
It's kind of cool feeling. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah. Over being overcritical is just something that a lot of people do. I like at work, I'm overcritical of all the stuff that I do. I'm like, no, I shouldn't be like this, but it's a habit. But it's one of those things, so
it's like endemic in the creative community. If you do anything that's vaguely creative, sometimes you can't help but over engineer in your head sometimes.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I could have looked this way, or right. Yeah.
Or I made that choice and I should have made this choice instead. Like
yeah.
It's silly.
Yeah. Did I shave right?
Right. Yeah.
Did I forget that one hair? Yeah.
Yeah. You're looking at it like
there was a hair in my mouth. Like, yeah.
How come they didn't catch that? Sort of thing.
So, speaking of that, like looking this way or looking that way, right? I know that on sets they have usually multiple cameras from multiple angles. Do they tell you exactly like which camera to look at? And is it hard to always focus on that camera if you have to focus on one camera?
The only time they'll be like, this is the particular camera that's yours is for, close-ups or your medium close-ups where then they're shooting it clean so it's not over someone's shoulder. So your eye line at that point will be the matte box that's around camera at some point, and you'll just be like looking at a piece of tape on the corner and acting for that. But most of the time in like the wides, especially when we were getting coverage, we had, I think, a 3-camera setup. Frequently we just used 2 because we didn't want to overdo it, but there was a third. There was a C camera that did come out from time to time, and usually on those you've got they usually set up a wide. Actually on this show they usually set up like an extra wide, a wide, and then sort of a medium close on the 3 if they ever rolled out the C. And for those setups, it was sort of like, no, just do the scene realistically. It's not like don't worry. Be aware, obviously, if the cameras don't block anyone, but more often than not, I think Karu's going for like an organic feel to the scenes of just people interacting, and they're not too self-aware of the theatricality and the sort of accoutrement that come with that. So it was, again, sort of a mix of both. Like once we broke down that setup and moved in closer, then it was like, okay, well the camera's here and then maybe your eye line is here, and then you have to sort of be aware of where the camera is so you don't look right into it at that point. But they always set it up real easy for us to do. It was never intrusive. It never felt like we had to act around the cameras, which is so important.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess I take it that would make the entire like scene and your job a little bit easier. Right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. 100%.
Awesome.
Do you feel like I personally, I thought you nailed the character. Like it was just like, to me, it was a new character, but because it felt like a very important character, that's where I think it comes across that you did a really great job. Is there anything like that you would like to add to that character? If you could go back and do anything, you know what I mean? Because you are hypercritical, so that's why I'm just curious. When you judge, like, do you think about that kind of stuff?
Let me get my laundry list of 100 things that I would change. No, I'm kidding. I think part of me not going back, not looking at these things, is because I don't want to go back and like feel like I wanted to change things. For this one, I think in terms of the material that we had on the page and what what was necessary to bring to the Flag Smashers. And again, credit to Erin for being such a good scene partner and being such a good collaborative partner on all of this. Like, we had so many late night chats about the ethos and everything, with everyone there as well, you know, talking about our various parts within the group. And that was really important, because even though we don't get into it in the scenes necessarily, you could feel a bit of that reality come through. Like, just a bit of what we talked about on those late nights, what our characters were all about, that would come through, you know, to a small degree. So I don't know if I would change too much. I think we did a good job overall. You know, there's a version of Dovich that's definitely more of a hard ass and definitely tougher, and that's an easier choice for me to go to with my look and my physicality. A lot of the time is like, you know, I play villains a lot. With Shannara Chronicles, it was like evil general, and I was like, I can go back to that well, but what if we just played this guy as a top level empath? Like, he's just good and nice and hard. We play against type a little bit, honestly, and I really liked the result of what sort of fell out of that, because it's a bit different for me as well. So yeah, this one, no, I don't think I'd change too much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
You brought out that real human experience, like, right? You know, they may have had this super serum, you know, super soldier serum injected in them, but they still were like, you know, it was a very human, you know, life. Like you lived, you know, you brought that experience, the human experience. A lot of times, like in Marvel, you got the, you know, you got the Hulk, you got Thor, you got all these people, you got Guardians of the Galaxy, all the space stuff, you got Doctor Strange. But in the Cap's universe, sort of his corner, you've got the people that are, you know, they need to take super soldier serum to get strength and stuff like that. But there's also that human element. And one of the things that I think they did really well in this series is that they brought that human element out, and through their lived experiences, right? And even with your character, the way that we were able to capture that, and the way that you were able to portray that, and we were able to actually feel that sort of conflict was truly amazing. So kudos to you.
Appreciate that, man. You guys are gassing me up. I feel my heart's very full. Thank you. I really seriously. That means a lot. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a reason why they explored the fallout of the blip in this part of the universe, because this is the part of the universe that can carry those real world implications.
Yeah.
Right. You know, you have the conversation between Sam and Isaiah, played by the inestimable Carl Lumbly, which is a very real human conversation in a very, very like that scene. And I think you guys know what scene I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Like, that is, I think, the most human, in that it's just realistically dark. It's grappling with a real world thing that's pretty it's there, whether you like it or not. It's there. And Cap's corner of the universe is the only one, I think, that can go into those corners, into those sort of cracks in society. Maybe Spidey's as well would be the other one, potentially, now that he's sort of the stand-in for Tony Stark, unfortunately. Oh, no, not unfortunately. Sorry, I mean, unfortunately, Tony Stark's gone.
Yeah.
Tom Holland is amazing. Spider-Man, the best. So that would be the other corner, which I think could deal with stuff like that, but it's younger, right? So you'd be dealing with younger adult issues, you know, and all that. So it's I don't think it's a coincidence that all this stuff lined up.
Yeah, that scene hit me. It was like, I actually had some tears in this entire series. I was like, you know what? And then people are like, you know, online, you know, all the stuff comes in, you know. But I was tuning a lot of that out, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna watch it and just react to it. And you know, there's some stuff in there, and I was like, you know, you're either happy or you were sad, or you were like, okay, you know, the Flag Smashers aren't really that bad. But are they, you know, are they the villains, or are they really not the villains? Or because, you know, the rest of the world is back, and now they want to go back to how it was, which really wasn't working, right? And they just want to displace all these people. So it's it was real. Like if that happened in real life, like right, like if half the world is gone and then they all come back, and half the world changes and everybody bonds together to make things work. And then everyone comes back and they want things to go back to normal. The half that were here, they're like, whoa, oh, we were singing Kumbaya. Now you want to turn everything back to where it was, which didn't work. I could see that, right? And that's absolutely the pleasure of it. So
I think Sam's speech at the end too was one of those moments. It was like, wow, because they've really like had led up to that. For me, like almost the whole show was a lead up to that moment, right? Because it was the most important thing to happen. Even though with all the other chaos and stuff that happened in the show, like him being on camera as spoiler alert, right? As Captain America talking to the world, right? And in that kind of way was such a change. And then you go and see potentially how it impacted others like Isaiah and things like that and their reactions. And it was very powerful, right? And it's important. And you're right. Like this is the only show within that universe that can really deal with real world problems, because the real world problems is what adds the levity to make the other things important that are happening, right? That's the challenge that they're trying to overcome. So it's an amazing job that they did. And to have you guys like Dovich have super serum and superhuman abilities that makes your character, as I keep alluding to in the show, more of who they are, right? It's an enhanced version of yourself, right? And to portray that character in that way shows to me that these are inside good people, right? And maybe misguided with how they handle the situation, right? So it was a great job on playing that part, man.
Oh man, thank you. Thank you again, seriously. Thank you.
You want to talk about some of the up and coming things you're in? And just I know we're going to get running short on time, so want to make sure that we.
Of course.
So.
Yeah. Well, we have what is on the IMDb now? I actually haven't.
We Were Tomorrow. That's coming out. That's in post production. Yes.
Yo, that's a really cool like indie thing. So there's a guy called Marcus Vanko who I worked with on Shannara Chronicles, sort of fantasy, young adult fantasy series back in the day, and his lady is a producer extraordinaire. She has carried this indie production on her back. It's a cool, like kind of time travel-y, young adult, sci-fi action romance thriller kind of deal. And it's really, really, really cool. She's done most of the heavy lifting in the production side herself, gotten crews together, gotten people to shoot, real professional level stuff. I believe they're talking to streaming services now in terms of a sale, but there's a little bit more production work to be done as well before they can drop. But that was a fun one because it kind of goes back to indie filmmaking, and it's nice to get your hands dirty. Time was early up in this career where nowadays they don't let you do anything. You can't lift a crate and help out, or move a C-stand this way and help out. It was kind of nice to get back to that sort of Yahoo just jump off the bridge bungee cord type of filmmaking where it's like all hands on deck, everyone help out. That's going to be really, really cool. And I can't wait. It's so cool. It spans so many different universes. There's like a Western aspect to it. There's a modern version. There's like ancient day druidic kind of stuff that happens in there. It's going to be cool. It's going to be really, really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. And then the Chronicles of Anata, you're playing a prince. So
that one's an earlier days one. I think that one's still sort of in pitching stages at the moment. But same thing, similar thing, trying to get it off the ground. And that'll be, look, just give her money, man, because any producers out there listening, just give her money, because she knows what the hell she's doing. She's been doing this for so long.
Nice.
And there's one other thing that isn't there, but I can vaguely hint at, and it sort of makes sense for your guys' outlet, but we have a thing coming How do I get around? How do I be a little coy about this? I can't break the NDA, but I can. It'll be my first time working in this next gen format, so that'll be a fun one when it drops. Maybe there's little things out on the internet already.
Yes, we will have to. We will have to put two and two together. I let our gaming experts. I work at a gaming company. The theorists put things together.
Next gen.
Speculation.
Who knows? Yeah, but that'll be exciting. That'll be a fun one.
Nice.
I can't wait to hear more about it. I imagine it definitely sounds. Yeah, it sounds amazing.
When may we possibly hear about said things potentially?
That one I have no idea. I mean, the timelines on these, you guys know the timelines on these things can truly scale out sometimes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We're not going to go full Star Citizen, I hope, but we'll, eventually.
So there is an event coming up called E3. So
true that. Yeah.
There's a few other events coming up. So
I mean, I have some thoughts, but I'm afraid to say it because if it's right, it could be right, it could be wrong. But
no, we can't do that.
E3 Star Citizen, you get what I'm saying, Mav? You see what I'm putting down? You picking it up?
Yeah. You guys, you guys got to do that on your own channels.
We just had an interview on with Desmond. Is it Chiam? Am I saying that right? And
yes.
And he has confirmed 100% that he is going to be the new Master Chief of Halo.
Confirmed Master Chief coming to Star Citizen and dropping.
There you
go. Coming out of Alpha in 3 months.
No.
Awesome.
I do have one quick question for you before we kind of get out of here. And this always interested me, but I never asked any actor this before. So, the foods on set, right? Like the foods, like the whatever you're drinking, whatever you're eating, is it real or is it fake?
It's fake. It's fake. It's plastic food. You know, when you go to like some Japanese restaurants and they have the fake food outside that looks real, we get all that stuff. We just, that's how everyone is so ripped on set, because they're actually getting 0 calories per day, especially on Marvel sets. No. They feed us so well. I can see our caterer, who was just a crusty, angry, lovely dude. I loved him. He'd feed us so well. But if he heard me saying that, I would get a spatula to my face, man. I would just he could possibly fly out of nowhere and just like clock me one. No, they fed us so well. We'd have a rotating, like, sometimes we'd have, because we were, in Atlanta for a bit, that we'd have like barbecue on every Friday would be a special meal. So they'd have like barbecue or like fried chicken or something else like real special. There'd be like, a Thai day or like, dessert day where there'd just be cakes like all up in everyone's trailers. It was great. Yeah.
Awesome. That's really cool.
They treat us well. We don't deserve it, but they do
it. Nice. So, Carlo, you're gonna close us out?
Yes. I'm headed that way. So I want to go to our special guest first, because you should have the biggest, largest, energetic outro. So Desmond, where can people find you and whatever you're up to next? Wherever you're tweeting at or Instagramming at or whatever, Snapchat, whatever they call it these days.
TikTok. I don't have TikTok yet, unfortunately, but Instagram and Twitter. Those are like my unfortunate bread and butter. You can find me at Des Chiam, DESCHIAM for Mary, on both. And I'll get down in the comments sometimes. So come hit me up, say hi.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming by. We really appreciate it, man. And it's been a great talk, learning about some of the stuff that goes on set, off set, the good food that you guys get. I might try to apply to become an extra one day just for the good food.
Worth it.
Yeah, it seems like it. Paris, where can we find you at?
You can find me on Twitter, plock77, or you can join our Facebook group, our Marvel group, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We have over 500,000 members and growing. We've got Marvel Studios and Clark Gregg. We've got all sorts of comic artists and folks from the industry in the group. So it's fun. Just join and come have some fun and talk about Marvel related content.
Absolutely. Mav, where can we find you?
On YouTube at Fun Speculation, also Twitter, Fun Speculation. We have the Fun Pop podcast on Thursdays at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, where we cover Marvel, DC, TV shows, movies, comic books, and more. Also on Xbox Ultimate podcast Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have a lot of fun on there. So come check those out, guys. And hey, Desmond, it's been absolutely amazing. This is like, I'm giddy that to be able to sit across from somebody that I watched these episodes as they come out. I couldn't get to them soon enough. And to be sitting across from somebody that played such a huge role in that, that's something that I enjoyed. And I think it's the future of TV. The future of TV shows is the stuff that like Disney and Netflix is doing these things, HBO is doing these things, and you're a part of like one of the ground floors of something with this new venture with Marvel going into the TV shows and stuff. And it was like just an honor to sit here across from you and talk. So thank you so much for doing this with us, dude. It's been a pleasure.
It's an absolute honor to be sitting down with some fellow nerds and just shooting the shit. I
Yeah.
really appreciate you guys having me on.
Awesome.
And everybody, you can find me at 4GQTV and catch us for the next episode. And see you guys later.
Hell yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
We have a lot of fun on there. So come check those out, guys. And hey, Desmond, it's been absolutely amazing. This is like, I'm giddy that to be able to sit across from somebody that I watched these episodes as they come out. I couldn't get to them soon enough. And to be sitting across from somebody that played such a huge role in that, that's something that I enjoyed. And I think it's the future of TV. The future of TV shows is the stuff that like Disney and Netflix is doing these things, HBO is doing these things, and you're a part of like one of the ground floors of something with this new venture with Marvel going into the TV shows and stuff. And it was like just an honor to sit here across from you and talk. So thank you so much for doing this with us, dude. It's been a pleasure.
It's an absolute honor to be sitting down with some fellow nerds and just shooting the shit. I
Yeah.
really appreciate you guys having me on.
Awesome.
And everybody, you can find me at 4GQTV and catch us for the next episode. And see you guys later.
Hell yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.